Hey guys, so long overdue video. Here's the supplements that I take as a vegan athlete living in Norway. First of all, I definitely believe that with an optimal diet and lifestyle, theoretically, supplements would not be necessary. But I'm not living an optimal lifestyle. I'm a tropical animal. I'm living in Norway. And that means that I will have to take some supplements no matter what. And then the food quality, how's the food quality? Where was it grown? Even if you were in an optimal environment, there are things that might not be optimal, and we can sort of play around with nutrition a little bit, modify it a little bit, and I'm all for that. Even if you are a purist fruitarian, maybe, as some of you probably are watching this channel. I used to be fruitarian. I'm still a proponent of a fruit-based diet. Humans are natural tropical frugivores, and we thrive on a diet of fresh tropical fruits. But without that tropical fruit available, without that quality ripe fruit available, we have to make some other choices, and that means, at least I feel like I have to, and then I have to sort of make up for that a little bit through supplementation. So anyway, let's take the obvious ones first. Vitamin D. And by the way, just quickly, I'm not sponsored by any of these brands. I bought it all with my own money. Vitamin D, super important because we are tropical animals. We would get natural sunlight every day in the tropics. Outside of the tropics, we're not getting enough sunlight and therefore not enough vitamin D. Certainly not in Norway, certainly not during winter. So I supplement with vitamin D3. I take on average 4,000 international units per day. Important. Next up, similar kind of thing, B12. So if we were in our natural environment, we would naturally be exposed to the soil. Okay, there would be bacteria living in the soil and on the fruit that we were eating, and we would not wash our hands constantly. So we would naturally be exposed to that microflora that exists in the nature and all around us, really, even here. And those bacteria, they produce B12. And so we would naturally get B12 that way. That's how nature intended it to be. That's how all the animals in nature get their B12. It's produced by soil bacteria and also inside our intestinal system. Because of our environment now and because of our habits, washing our hands all the time, etc., which is probably a good thing in the grand scheme of things, we're not getting enough B12. Perhaps also there's some issues with our gut flora now that we're not eating that optimal diet. Methylcobalamin B12, 1,000 micrograms. I take one every 2-3 days. I used to take 5,000 every other day, and that brought my levels up real high. So great and super important as endurance athletes or an athlete in general. So if you're an athlete and a runner, you should also check out my running channel, of course. I'll put a link to it here. Next up, omega-3. Again, tropical fruit has tons of omega-3 in the form of ALA. Because I'm eating less tropical fruit and more other things, my omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is a little bit skewed. So I need to up my omega-3 intake, and I just do that by taking this. This is DHA and EPA. And I'm not entirely decided, personally, on whether we need to supplement with omega-3 or not as a vegan. But I just opted for the safest choice, and I went ahead and did it. So this is algae-based omega-3, clean and pure and great. So again, in a natural environment and natural diet, we would actually get, I think, sufficient amounts of omega-3 just through the fruit. But that's sort of like an insurance policy, just to be on the safe side. Iodine. So the soil, there's iodine issues all over the world, really. Meat eaters and vegans alike have issues with iodine. Actually, meat eaters also have issues with D and B12. People think, vegans, they don't get B12. Actually, most of the people deficient in B12 are meat eaters. So it's relevant for everyone. If the soil lacks iodine, the food will lack iodine, and I've looked at my blood tests and I've definitely noticed that I had a little bit of an iodine issue at one point, not a big one. I supplemented with iodine and it reversed. So now I take iodine once a day, 225 micrograms, and that's good. Again, if we had perfect food in the perfect environment, you probably wouldn't need it. Iron. You can get plenty of iron on a vegan diet, no problem. In fact, there's a lot of the vegan diets, the real healthy vegan diets with lots of whole plant foods, they have so much iron, it's crazy. But you don't want to have too much iron though, and when you're eating meat, you're actually getting something called heme iron, which is easier to absorb, but it also sometimes causes more problems and leads to too much iron sometimes, which can be a deadly problem actually. Anyway, I've always had iron issues, even from back when I was eating meat, and that didn't help me at all. Even when I'm consuming quite big amounts of iron from plants, I'm still having some low iron issues. Could be due to my heavy training, could be due to genetic issues, absorption issues. So I find that I need to supplement actually with a high dose, 100 milligrams of iron to even just maintain my iron levels. That might not apply to you though. And quick disclaimer, I'm just suggesting or just talking about what I'm doing. If you want to do something similar, or if you want to try and take my advice, you probably want to consult your doctor first. That's like a legal disclaimer. So I'm not responsible for your choices, obviously. Next up, calcium. And by now you're probably thinking, can't you just eat some meat, drink some milk, get calcium? Or whatever, and there are nutrients in those foods. Sure, you can get milk is a really solid source of calcium in terms of how much calcium is in milk, but it's also a source of natural hormones for cows. It's really for cows, not humans, And the macro and micronutrient sort of profile doesn't really fit our nutrient needs ideally, and we see that a lot of the diseases that we have in the modern day and age are actually caused by eating too much animal products and not enough fruits and vegetables. And we are tropical frugivores. So even though I could get calcium from cow's milk, I'll get so much other stuff that I don't want along with that calcium that I've chosen instead to do a supplement. And again, back to our original diet. If I was to eat real tropical fruit, getting enough calcium would be super, super easy. You can easily get 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day just eating like mangoes and papayas. As long as you eat enough calories from fruit, you'll get enough calcium, iron, most of the important nutrients. You won't get vitamin D and vitamin B12 because those are not dietary nutrients. They are environmental nutrients. Sunshine, bacteria. So because I'm not eating that tropical fruit, I choose to supplement with a little bit of calcium, 500 milligrams a day, just to be on the healthy side of optimal calcium intake, especially important as a runner. Next up, zinc. It's kind of the same thing as with iron, having some issues with absorption. I've never had issues with zinc though on my blood tests. I do blood tests like once every 3 months maybe, and they're usually very good. But because of that absorption issue, I'm thinking perhaps also there's an issue with zinc. So every 2 or 3 days, I take one zinc tablet, 15 milligrams, but I probably don't need to do that, but I do it anyway just to be, again, on the safe side. As an athlete. Vitamin K2, kind of similar thing as the B12. It's, we get a lot of vitamin K from greens, just a little bit of lettuce, and fruits and vegetables in general has a lot of vitamin K, and that converts via bacteria to K2. And I'm probably fine. I'm probably good. My bacteria in my intestines are probably making K2 right now, and there's no issue. But I want to be on the safe side, so I decided to supplement with vitamin K2. And it's just, again, because I think I'm not being exposed to as much bacteria in my environment as I naturally would if I was living in the tropics as an ape in nature. And I am probably not having my gut flora is probably not optimal because I'm not eating again that absolutely optimal diet. So it could be pretty optimal still, but just to be on the safe side in terms of that, I decided to supplement with K2 as well. And that's it for the sort of normal supplements. And then I have a few other ones, powders basically. I take choline, citicholine, because I had some strange issues with dizziness last year. I still have it to some extent, and I was pretty desperate. I wanted to try everything, so I thought I'd introduce this. I am better now. I think that's for different reasons, but it doesn't hurt. Some people have genetic issues that means that they don't produce as much choline, and they should supplement. And it's not because they're not eating meat or because they're not eating this or that. It's because they actually have a genetic makeup so that they actually need extra choline. And the best way to get extra choline without going to animal products, which would cause different issues again health-wise, I think it's better to supplement. So I do that. I also take a little bit of vitamin C now and then, just because most days, because again I'm not getting the huge amounts of tropical fruits that I naturally would. I'm getting plenty of enough vitamin C to stay healthy and alive, but I'm sort of again looking to that optimal diet of lots of fruit, and there would be a lot of vitamin C. So I think that's just my guess though, we thrive on a little bit more vitamin C, so I just increase it a little bit. This is pure ascorbic acid. And then we're really getting into the performance realm here, where my next supplements now are really focused on performance as a runner. So it doesn't matter if you're a meat eater or vegan or whatever. If you're looking to maximize your performance, your fitness, there are certain supplements that might contribute to that. First of all, it's protein. Just adding in protein. It's not really a supplement, it's more of an actual food. So this is pea protein and soy protein. And I just add it in to my diet. And that's not because it's difficult to get enough protein on a vegan diet. It's actually pretty easy. But it's because I actually want to get quite a lot of protein, and that's just more convenient and digests a little bit better for me than eating tons of beans and lentils. But those are great foods too, of course, and they have plenty of protein, as do all foods. All foods have protein, some more than others. Easy to get enough protein on a vegan diet, but if you want to sort of boost your protein intake and get quite a lot, because it sort of stimulates some of the processes that happens after training, and the training effect is a little bit enhanced when you sort of boost it with protein. So that's what I'm essentially doing. I'm just trying to get the most out of my training, and I have protein, like a protein shake with just like apple juice and protein, or I put it inside my oatmeal and stuff like that, just to maximize the protein intake. And in that same vein, I take leucine. And I take leucine because it sort of again increases that protein synthesis, the muscle protein synthesis effect after training. Pretty well documented effect. I'm essentially doping, but in a healthy way, and using legal products, and just basically trying to get the most out of my fitness. And then lately I've had an injury, tendon injuries, so again I'm going to the supplements. I'm pretty all in on the supplements right now. We'll see if that changes in the future, but I don't see a problem with it. It's just food, really. But I have been taking these three, glycine, proline, and lysine, amino acids that are essential in collagen formation. Okay, so that's the tendon formation in the body, and so that sort of helps with tendon repair, and that's what I want now that I have a tendon injury. Probably I'm going to continue with it just to keep my tendons strong though. And if you think that it's possible just to eat meat again, cartilage, and get like collagen that way, that is true. But again, you would get all those other negative things that you get from meat and dairy products. Animal foods are just, in the scientific literature, it's quite clear that the bias is towards a whole food plant-based diet if you want to be healthy. Okay, so I don't see how you can sort of incorporate animal foods without getting into trouble, I prefer then to just stick to the supplements. Plus, even if you did supplement with collagen or foods that contain collagen, like cartilage and bone broth and all that, that's not really that effective because it doesn't have as much glycine, and that's really where the bottleneck is, according to some studies that I've read. So you really want to get glycine. That's the main thing. And these two, I'm not really sure if I need those, glycine and proline, but I don't want to take any chances, and I just want to do the best that I can now that I have this tendon injury. I have another one here. It's not leucine, actually. It's just in the leucine bag, and that's carnitine. Again, a nutrient that does exist in meat, but we actually produce our own carnitine. But some people have genetic disorders that make them produce less carnitine, and those people probably should supplement with it. And I don't know if I'm one of those people. And again, I had those weird dizziness issues last year and still. And some people will take that and say, oh, it's because you're vegan. I honestly don't think so. I've really thought about all the different nutrients. And for example, carnitine and choline was two of those nutrients that I sort of incorporated because I wasn't sure. And I was like, could it be something that I'm lacking in my diet? I haven't been able to come up with a good idea of what that could be. My blood test doesn't show any indicators that there's anything lacking. And I've also spoken to doctors, and they agree that it seems to be something other than my diet. However, I do think actually that it relates somehow to sodium and electrolytes. I seem to be able to modify my dizziness somehow by modulating my intake of sodium. So it has to do with something like that, I think, which again comes back to why do I have that in the first place? And I think that's actually because of the vaccine that I took back in 2016 against rabies. I got some serious side effects following that vaccine, and I think I'm still struggling with it to this day. Anyway, I guess it ended up being quite a long video after all, but those are my supplements. Pretty crazy when you look at it like that, but really, you know, when you're eating a food like a banana or whatever, you're getting thousands of different nutrients, okay? It's all in there. And if you just increase the vitamin C content a little bit, that would just be like eating a fruit with a little bit more vitamin C. That wouldn't really be a problem. And that's the case for most of these nutrients. I'm taking them in amounts that are proven to be safe by studies. I am essentially trying to mimic our natural fruit diet and looking at literature of, you know, what's the optimal nutrition profile, etc., and just essentially experimenting and trying to tweak things to optimize as well as I can in a situation that's suboptimal, being outside of the tropics and not eating a tropical fruit diet. So I found a way to live pretty healthy, I think. I'm pretty happy about this. I'm happy with the supplements and I'm happy with the foods. Although I would be happier with a tropical fruit diet, I'm pretty happy like this as well. And I feel healthy, except for my weird dizziness issues, I guess. And my fitness and training is going pretty well, except for my little injury. But hey, there's always challenges in life, and overall I'm pretty content. If you have any questions about any of the supplements or any thoughts you want to share, you can leave a comment down below and I will try and answer them for you. You should definitely go check out my running channel if you're interested in fitness and training and of course running. And in the meantime, stay tuned for the occasional video here on Sweet Natural Living too. Let me know in the comments if you take any supplements and why. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.